Optimove, the leader in positionless marketing, frees marketing teams from the limitations of fixed roles, boosting campaign efficiency by 88%. Its positionless marketing platform delivers 3 transformative powers: data power for real-time customer insights, creative power for instant asset creation, and optimization power for self-optimizing campaigns. With Optimove, you can do anything and be everything. Go to optimove.com/total retail to get your first month free when buying Optimove's positionless marketing platform.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, the editor-in-chief of Total Retail. I'm excited to be joined on today's episode by Yanni Hufnagel, who is the founder of Lemon Perfect. And we're going to talk to Yanni all about that brand. It's kind of positioning in the vitamin water market. It's growing, and kind of a little bit about that growth plan and strategy and all the exciting things that are still to come from Lemon Perfect. So excited to talk with you, Yanni. Thanks for joining me on today's show.
Joe, I'm thrilled to be with you. Thanks for having me.
I just gave a very, very brief introduction of Lemon Perfect, but you're the founder, you're living it every day. I'd love for you to tell our audience a little bit about the brand for those that are unfamiliar with it.
Of course, it's an organic lemon water, delicious and refreshing. We have half a squeezed organic lemon in every bottle. The business will do in the neighborhood of $100 million this year, fiscal year 25 at retail. And we really feel like we're just getting started, but there has been an incredible enthusiasm for the brand. Looking forward to sharing more of that with you today.
And I always like to kind of learn a little bit more about my guests and kind of their career paths, particularly entrepreneurs like you that are brand founders, kind of the story of why you kind of have an unconventional career path. Before launching Lemon Water, you have quite a successful career as a men's college basketball coach, many different stops in your career there. And then you've kind of transitioned now to launching a CPG brand. Tell us a little bit about your career and how you ended up at this point where you are today.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's anyone out there that has the experience that I have across multiple fields of industry. Yeah, the short story is I coached college basketball for 10 years. And my last year coaching, I was at the University of Nevada in Reno. I had previously been a graduate assistant at Oklahoma, assistant coach at Harvard and Vanderbilt, University of California. And then my last stop was in Reno. And a friend of mine wrote a book on the ketogenic diet, Joe, in 2017. This was at the very height of the keto story, if you will, right? And in the back of Matt's book were all these sample meal plans. And every day started by drinking organic lemon water. And I needed some structure in my routine. I said, Matt, let's roll A through Z, right? And, lemon water in the morning just became a part of my routine. And I hated it, right? Buy organic lemons, cut the lemon, squeeze the lemon juice all over, bland taste. Oh my God. Stuck with it. This is the path of destiny. Coach Musselman's wife, who I was working for, Eric Musselman, was our head coach at Nevada. Her sister was on the field marketing team at Bai, which at the time was a very innovative product, great flavor, 1 gram of sugar. And I'm in the locker room towards the end of our season. We're all drinking Bai. Obviously, we're familiar with the product. And I said, can we take lemon water and make it taste good? Can we actually give it like a Bai-like flavor profile? We far exceeded that experience, but the season ended. I'm having lunch with a friend of mine in Santa Monica who invests in early stage food and beverage businesses. And I say, John, what do you think of this idea? He says, I love it. Anything that you can do that can capture a piece of someone's daily routine, right? What they do in the morning when they first get up, what they do at night when they go to sleep, or any point in between, like you can build a business around that. I jumped up because all I knew was lemon water in the morning. I said, John, I've got it. We're going to go build the morning drink. The first packaging actually said Jumpstart on the side. And that night I Googled how to start a beverage company from his couch in Santa Monica. And Joe, we've sold now 141 million bottles since. So here we go. And a lot of highs, some unimaginable lows over the last, 8 years. But it's a new day, and we'll get into why we're so bullish on our future here as the podcast goes on.
Yeah, plenty of runway for growth too, and highs and lows as one would expect with any new business venture. And you've given me the opportunity to kind of shoehorn my love of college basketball into the second straight podcast episode I've recorded, but I'm a huge basketball guy. So your story kind of resonated with me.
I love that, Joe. Do you have a team or
Yeah, I've got a couple. I went to school at, and I think I'm sure you've heard of it as a basketball guy. I went to Iona, which is in right outside of New York City. Yeah, tons of great basketball coaches have come from Iona. A number of good teams too. And then also growing up in Philadelphia, I've been a Villanova fan for most of my life. So been blessed with two really good programs to root for.
How about that? Well, Dan Gerio, who's the new coach at Iona, is a big Lemon Perfect fan. I've known him for a long time. It's been well noted that Josh Hart, ex Villanova, is a Lemon Perfect investor. So you've gotten to cut down the nets a few times at Villanova, which is nice. And Iona's had great success over the years with some wonderful, wonderful coaches there.
Yeah, it's really been fun to follow 'em, and I love how we've kind of tied in here Lemon Perfect and basketball. So it's a great start.
My whole life is tying in Lemon Perfect in basketball. So this is not a deviation from that course. Every day we tie the two together. What I will say for your audience that's interesting is listen, when people ask me, how do I start something? I tell them, go coach college basketball for 10 years, build a network, and then come back to me. It has given us the network and the fuel and the relationships to build something really special. It was a wonderful transition.
Yeah, and it's to your point, it really built a foundation on which you could build the brand because you had that network established through many, many years of creating those relationships through basketball. You mentioned at the outset retail and how that figures into Lemon Perfect's story. You recently launched your products in Costco's Southeast and Northwest regions, so obviously I imagine it's a big deal for the for your brand. Tell us a little bit about how landing that shelf space in really one of the most competitive retail environments and what that means for the brand and kind of the strategy in driving velocity of sales in those storefronts.
Yeah, well, listen, there is no more powerful retailer than Costco, certainly in the club channel. Look, we've got great relationships with BJ's Wholesale Club, with Sam's Club, but Costco is a wonderful partner. They've given us a chance to win in their clubs. We've got some incredible support, not only at the regional level, but at, HQ in Washington as well. Costco, in the entirety of the club channel, it's a great discovery place for us. We've realized there's incredible hunting for products that happens underneath those roofs. For us to have an opportunity to be one of about 4,000 items, in those clubs for an emerging brand. You can't put a tag on just how valuable that exposure is. And certainly, obviously, it's a great driver of revenue as well. We're selling a lot of 15-pack cases, that treasure hunt and the initial exposure to Lemon Perfect, just because of the way that our package looks on shelf, big yellow, it drives people to the brand. And when you try Lemon Perfect, you come back. So it's been a great driver for us of trial. Boy, are we thrilled to have a burgeoning relationship with Costco here.
Yeah, it's certainly a great platform for you to get the brand exposure that you're seeking. Another kind of piece of news as we record this episode in mid-August is that you recently at Lemon Perfect have hired Mary Lee. She's formerly of Vitamin Water, Red Bull, Kind. She's your new CMO. So talk a little bit about what that hire will mean for Lemon Perfect, specifically your go-to-market strategy at scale. We talked about Costco. I'm sure there might be other things in the works as well.
Yeah, I mean, she's wonderful. What an A-plus hire for us. She's been with us for a couple of months now. High stakes, right, Joe? Because we feel like we've got the product and the packaging, and now we have to put some real marketing muscle behind what we've got on the retail shelf and the digital shelf as we live in an omni-channel environment. Mari's unbelievable. I mean, her track record is exceptional. Multiple wins under her belt. She, as you mentioned, started at Red Bull, but then went to Vitamin Water and then Kind Bar, and was most recently at Nutrabolt, the parent company of C4 Energy, and then also spent time with Bloom Nutrition on their RTD side. I mean, she's an absolute killer assassin. We've got great confidence in her. We're working now. I mean, as you mentioned, this podcast is recording here in August. We'll hit send on this and ship this in the middle of September, and by then, a lot of this initial work that Mari is going through right now in terms of understanding who is Lemon Perfect and how do we market the brand. We're going through all that work right now, and she's leading it. And we're building our plan for 2026, a year that we really believe with her and, some real protein marketing and continuing to refine who we think the business can double. We really do, just because of what we're seeing right now with repeat in the product. And so, yeah, we're going to go chase a couple $100 million in retail sales in fiscal year 26.
I'm going to talk about that repeat buyer again, kind of becoming a routine for the customer as that lemon water becomes part of their daily routine. But before I do that, I want to go full circle again and kind of bring it back to a little bit about the basketball conversation in terms of your work in college basketball. Obviously, as you know, athletics, it's about finding the right talent, right? And recruiting and bringing that talent onto the team and meshing them together, right? Talent is great, but you also need to have the right culture within your organization, whether it's a team, college basketball team, same in business, right? So tell me a little bit about your mindset as a former coach and how that translates into leading the Lemon Perfect team and building that winning culture that's so critical, right? Talent is one thing, but culture is another piece of the equation.
Joe, I've had some incredible hits and some bad misses. In terms of hiring talent. I think we've got it right now. I hired a CEO last September, who Jeff Popkin, who's done just a marvelous job operating the business on a day-to-day. That is my true wingman in this thing, and he would say the same thing. And it's taken a lot of pressure off me and allowed me to focus on product and packaging, and taking an active role in sales and thinking about. So it's a little bit of a two-headed monster, but we have made culture such a priority for so long. We went through a stretch where our retention was best in industry, and then we had some product challenges last year and started to figure out who really believed in the long term of this thing, right? You kind of see, where everyone kind of sits, but this is a competitive business. We're built different. There's a scoreboard and we go and look at it every single day. We have to hire and select through that lens. It is a street fight. Retail is hard. Retail in beverage is as hard as it gets because you're going up against Coke and Pepsi and KDP and that level of distribution and that level of ability to drive the brands through marketing. And so we have to have just a scrap about us that is unrivaled. And I really like where we are today. I do. I really, really like where we are today. It's a new day at Lemon Perfect. Our group is incredible. We've got the infrastructure here from a personnel perspective, I think, to drive this thing to a whole nother level. But it took me 7 years to figure it out. And you got to, and listen, like Joe, you can't care about your ego. You can't care about this, about that, just put the best team on the floor to be successful. That's what I've learned.
Realizing what you don't know, right? Too, and how others can help you. I want to follow up to your point around the marketplace in which Lemon Perfect is competing in, and it's super competitive. Is particularly that enhanced water category. You've alluded to some things that I believe could be the differentiating factors that could help Lemon Perfect stand out and continue to grow market share. What, in your eyes, are the things that you think can help separate you and kind of capture some of that market share in this, as you noted, truly competitive space?
Continuing to execute at the highest level in retail, and then just finding some virality in the brands, right? Like, we have to do a better job digitally getting people to talk about the product. I mean, as bar none. Mari's again, I mentioned it earlier. I mean, she's under duress. We got to figure this thing out because that'll take this thing to the next level. It's a really exciting time for us though, because we've spent so much time and energy marketing our previous, before we made our packaging change and our formulation change. I mean, we spent a lot of time marketing kind of at the point of purchase. We did a lot of field marketing, but we just think we can get more efficient through other mediums and not forget about, the importance of that. But we think this all starts with our product and our package, and it's just trying to get more exposure. We got to be great with retail programming. That's probably as important as anything. We've got to get better driving digital purchase, whether that's kind of through retailer owned platforms, whether that's through Instacart, certainly on Amazon, our own .com, TikTok now, social commerce is coming fast. We've got to continue to figure out how to drive all that. But, it all starts with the product, and we really believe that we've got it.
When you think about your customer, maybe I should have asked this, is it mainly the consumer? Or are you thinking about kind of the B2B opportunity? I'm thinking about like gyms and athletic venues and different areas. Like, what do you think about the customer?
The end customer is incredibly important. I mean, where they find it is obviously the most important that's where so look, we're retail first, but we are spending a lot of time in what we call food service and on-premise alternative channels of trade, right? Whether that's airports, hotels, resorts, casinos, golf courses, really any non-traditional retail environment where we would look at it more as a marketing channel than even than anything else. Having a relationship with the customer, or I should say the consumer, very, very important. And as important is having a relationship with the customer, whether that's Costco or Walmart or Publix or any retailer in our orbit. That makes our business hard, right? If we were direct to consumer only, we can just be relentless thinking about the consumer. We have to spend as much or more of our time prioritizing the customer because the consumer beverage is really not DTC friendly at all.
Expensive to ship.
Yeah, all of that, right? And we're not talking about creatine gummies here. We're talking about something that is a true impulse purchase by and large. I mean, there's pantry loading for sure. But when people want a cold beverage that's good for them, that tastes great, enter Lemon Perfect into the mix. And that's generally going to be in a retail environment.
Following up on that consumer and the end user, I should say, their demand for healthy products seems to be continuing to grow. And it's something that would, in theory, position well for brands like Lemon Perfect. In your eyes, what are some of those macro trends in that enhanced water and healthy living space that you see emerging over the next year, 2 years? And how can Lemon Perfect kind of position itself to tap into some of those trends?
We're at the forefront of it. There is nothing that tastes like Lemon Perfect that has our nutritional deck with zero sugar. I think hydration in a modern way is coming, right? Like I think that if you look at kind of categories, modern soda, next gen soda has been a big thing. Protein's been I think 80% of America is chronically dehydrated, Joe. Water is the most necessary. The hell with the protein, the hell with the soda. Water is how you function every day. So I think there's education around that. Consumers looking for better for you. We check all of those boxes, right? We're an organic product, squeezed from real fruit, zero sugar. I mean, there's just nothing better than what we have. So we're going to continue to capitalize on all of the better for you trend and movement to those products. People are turning labels over. I was with two kids from USC this morning, University of Southern California. They're working on a project, and they're kind of in a couple of aspiring entrepreneurs. They said that they're guzzling Lemon Perfect. I said, why? They said it's just better for you and it tastes great. I mean, that was like bells off for me, Joe. 21-year-old, I'll say, cool kids that are like, our fraternity house is just ordering and ordering and ordering Lemon Perfect. I'm like, wow. And they're like, yeah, people are turning over, our friends are turning over labels to look at the nutritional deck. That was another moment for me where I was like, damn, we are really out in front of this thing.
And you're at the early stage and in the opportunity to continue to grow, which will lead me to my final question for you, Yanni. When I have leaders like yourself on the podcast, I want to get a, kind of an up to date on where you are with the business, but also I think part of your job is to be thinking ahead and to like, where can we go next, right? So with that in mind, what are your top priorities as the founder of the brand, the owner of the brand? How do you kind of take it to the next level without losing that core, brand promise that Lemon Perfect was built upon?
Yeah, Joe, look, thinking about innovation is always going to be really important. What new flavors can we add to the mix to draw a larger audience in, add more variety to the brand? We've got Murderer's Row in our lineup right now, but we think that we've got some flavor innovation behind us. But look, we've got very low brand awareness right now, Joe. So we're sitting here on August 14th, 2025. This will ship a month from today. And the truth is like, we have to understand that our core product is special. and try to get that product into as many hands as we possibly can. The business is more valuable if you've got less SKUs, not more, right? And so we're always very thoughtful about innovation in that lens or through that lens. So yeah, so for me right now, I'm very focused, Joe, on just tightening the screws on our supply chain, making sure that our product is impenetrable in terms of shelf life. And we're going through an exercise right now. We're even like considering changing our printing process on our labels, just because I look at every millimeter and there's like a little bleed here, a little bleed. So like, I'm obsessed with just making sure that this product is built to last. We're going to produce a lot of these things. That's my biggest focus, candidly, for 25 and 26 right now, is just absolutely nailing this thing from every lens, from a product perspective and supply chain perspective, so that we can really dream about 500 million, a billion and more in sales. I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel. I think we've got something that I'm looking at right now on the table that's just really, really special.
Yeah. And you have the belief that you have the right product. It's about getting that product into the hands of the end user and then creating that cycle of loyalty. But the first part, of getting the product right, seems like you have a firm hold of that.
No question. Yeah, no question. No question.
Well, I want to take the opportunity to thank Yanni Hufnagel, the founder of Lemon Perfect, for joining me on today's episode of Total Retail Talks. It's really been an insightful conversation. I've had a nice time talking with you, Yanni. I appreciate you taking the time today.
Oh, this was a lot of fun, Joe. Thanks so much for having me on, and looking forward to tracking your future episodes and listening in. And your energy is awesome, and your shared love of basketball is quite fun. So I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, Yanni, and best of luck to you and the Lemon Perfect team going forward. Thank you. Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.
Optimove, the leader in positionless marketing, empowers marketers to instantly deliver real-time personalization. Boosting campaign efficiency by 88%, it allows marketers to do anything and be everything. Go to optimove.com/total retail to get your first month free when buying Optimove's positionless marketing platform.